Okay, I'm going to work this test review out for you. Um, this first section here is asking out what point O is. Point O in this picture over here, right there, is created by medians. They're medians because it goes from the corner to the midpoint of the other side. So the concurrency of medians is called a centroid. Okay, on Friday, you got to be able to know what a centroid looks like. The second thing is an incenter, and it's created by angle bisectors. You can't see this, but since this circle is in the middle here, then therefore it's an incenter. Other things you would see is that you'll have angles that are equal to each other on each vertex. Those are two ways to determine that you got an incenter. So this thing is called an incenter. The next point of concurrency is created by perpendicular bisectors. And you see these lines here, they're perpendicular and they're in the middle of each side because these tick marks tell us that it's in the middle. So then therefore, point O in this case is called a circumcenter. A circumcenter is CIRCUMCUMNTER. And a circumcenter gives us that the distance from the corner to that circumcenter point and is the same distance from each corner. So A to O is the same distance as C is to O, and then the same distance from B to O, because it's a circumcenter. The last one down here is called a midsegment. A midsegment connects the midpoint of two sides. So point D is the midpoint of AB. Point D is the midpoint of AB. Point E is the midpoint of AC. Then therefore this thing here is called a midpoint. Midsegment. And the properties of a midsegment is that the small side is always half the length of the long side. You need two of the small ones to make the length of the big one. Okay, let's see what's on the next page. Okay, looks like we're done with the centroid here. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so the centroid here, we're looking at AE. The whole distance here is 21. It says it's 21. AG is from the vertex to the centroid. That is always 2/3 of the whole distance. So AG, that's a G, is equal to 2/3 of AE. Okay, so then 4x minus 2 is equal to 2 times 21 over 3. Okay, so 21 divided by 3 is 7. 7 times 2 is 14. And then this is 4x minus 2. I'm going to bring the 2 over, so I got 4x is equal to 16. X is equal to 4. Are they asking for x? Yes, they are. So the value of x is equal to 4. Okay, on this problem, they're talking about complements. Complements means that the two numbers, 39 and 51, add up to 90. If they add up to 90, then the sine of one is equal to the cosine of the other. So sine of 39 equals 0.74 also, because they are complements. The next one. So if you think about it, see, 39 plus 51 equals 90. So that means that these two numbers are complements. So anytime they're complements, the sine of one problem is equal to the cosine of the other leg. So in this case, we have cosine on B, we have cosine x and sine 90 minus x. So if I take x plus 90 minus x, this equals 90. So then this value and that value are both complementary. Therefore, the cosine of x is equal to 0.5 also. So where find x, where sine x is equal to 22. So in order to find out what that x is, I got to say x plus 22 is equal to 90. So then therefore, x is equal to 90 minus 22. And you'll say 90 minus 22 equals, so that has to equal 68. So x is equal to 68 because 68 and 22 are complementary. So then therefore, they have to have the same value for sines and cosines. The last one on this side is kind of like B. So explain why x and 90 minus x are equal to each other. Well, they're equal to each other because they're complementary. So complementary angles have equal values for sine and cosine. Nothing else is down, so let's go to the next page. Okay, fill in the blank. BF. BF is from this point to that point. What kind of item is that? Well, you look at they got these two angle arcs here that are equal to each other, are equal to each other. So then therefore, that line BF, segment BF, is a angle bisector. It's a line that cuts an angle, one of the corners in half. So then therefore, it's an angle bisector. CE is an altitude or the height of the triangle. And AD is a median because it goes from the corner to the middle of the other side, the midpoint of the other side. So this is a median. Okay, so this next one, we're using the concepts of mid segments. And remember, the mid segment is, it takes two of the smaller ones to equal the bigger one. So the smaller one on A is x. So 2 smaller equals 1 big. All right, so we need 2 x's. So x plus x, because that's the small one, has to equal the big one, x plus 7. So when I do our math, I subtract x from both sides, and we're left with x equals 7. That's for A. For B, it's a little more complex, but it's still the same thing occurs. For B, you need 2 of the smaller ones to equal one of the big ones. You can double it and distribute if you have to, but I'm gonna just do it separately. Need two of the smaller ones. 30 plus 2x plus 30 plus 2x is equal to x plus 24. Okay, so now we combine like terms. Now it's algebra. 30 plus 30 is 60. 2x plus 2x is 4x is equal to x plus 24. Okay, so now I gotta subtract 60 from both sides. Okay, so if I subtract 60, then I gotta do 24 minus 60. Don't be, in this case, I want you to get it right, so don't be afraid to use the calculator. 60 minus 24. Some of you sharp heads, go ahead and do it in your brain. You know, if you have mental math, that's actually better. But, you know, I know some of us can't do it. So then if you can't, do like I just did. So 4x is equal to x minus 36. Okay, so now I got to bring the x to the other side. So if I got to subtract x, so now I got 3x is equal to negative 36. Therefore, x is equal to negative 36 divided by 3. So x is equal to 36 divided by 3 equals 12. Negative 12. Ooh, almost messed up there. Okay, let's go to the next page. Okay, so on this one, they want n. N is the point of concurrency of perpendicular bisectors. Okay, so then therefore it's a circumcenter. That tells us n is a circumcenter. Okay, so the circumcenter tells that each corner is an equal distance to this point here. Okay, so then that says that A to N is equal to the distance from K to N. So we could find Y that way. So 4y minus 3 is equal to 9. 4y is equal to 9 minus 3, which is 6. Y is equal to 6 divided, I'm sorry, that's 12. Because I got to add to both sides. So y is equal to 3. Because we divide both sides by 4. Let me make that a little bit better. Now we divide by 4 and we get 3 to both sides. All right, the second one, to find, we know that E is the midpoint. So the midpoint of that says these two equations equal to each other. So the 3x plus 3 is equal to 21. We can either distribute or divide by 3. I'm going to go ahead and divide by 3. So x plus 3 is equal to 7. X is equal to 7 minus 3, which is 4. And then that'll be your answer. Okay, so 10 is talking about the incenter. The incenter D, Why are you not working? Let's go here. There we go. The incenter D is created by angle bisectors. So angle bisectors cut each one of these angles in half. So that means that the other half is going to be the same size. So AFD, looking at this angle here, I'm going to change the color to red. AFD. I did that wrong, didn't I? AFD. That's what they're looking for here. But since AFD is in the same angle that's being cut here, if this is 29, then this angle also has to be 29. Okay, CAE, so that's this angle over here. I'm going to do that one in blue. I'm going to be all over the place. CAE is the whole angle on this corner, like angle A. And that value is double of 35. So CAE has to be 70 because 2 times 35 equals 70. And then C, I'm going to do this one in green. BD, where is B? B to D, since it's an incenter, this distance is the same as this distance is the same as that distance. So BD has to equal 5. By definition of incenter, that's what it is. Okay, below is the amount I have House of Blues. So then, therefore, we need to, they're looking for a viewing tower that's equal distance from each one of those parts. So let's draw triangles so that we can see what it looks like. What color should I make it? Blue. All right, so we got one from House of Blues to here. And then from here to Disney Quest. Yes. And then from Disney Quest back to the House of Blues. Okay, so we want a tower in here that is in the middle of all this, equal distance from this corner to that corner to that corner. So what we will do is, and this is not accurate because I'm not measuring it, but what we would need to do is to find something that's equal distance from each corner. We would have to make a what do you call it? A circumcenter, and circumcenters are created by perpendicular bisectors. So we would have to find the perpendicular bisector of this side, and of this side, and of that side. So to answer the question, we would need to, I would place it probably about here. So let's try to line it out. You would place it, change the text. Place the tower at the point of concurrence of perpendicular bisectors. So the place where all the perpendicular bisectors meet would be where they would place it. Okay, now we're trying to use trig functions. The trig functions, you have to figure out what size and angles that we have. So in 13, we have the angle 48, an opposite of angle 48 and an adjacent to angle 48. So we're going to use tangent because this is opposite, this is adjacent. Over opposite, adjacent, and this is hypotenuse. We don't have anything for hypotenuse, so we have to use opposite over adjacent. So tan theta is equal to opposite over adjacent. So tangent 48 is equal to x over 5. So tangent of 48, I'll go over here, 48 tangent is 1.1106 is equal to x over 5. Multiply both sides by 5. I get x is equal to, let's see, times 5. Is 5.55. So it says round lengths of segment to the nearest tenth and degrees to the nearest degree. So this is the length. So the length is 5.55. If I round to the nearest tenth, then that's 5.6. Okay, on this case, x is unknown, so we know we're looking for an angle. And according to this angle, this is the opposite side. This is the hypotenuse. So sine x is equal to 11 divided by 23. So since we're looking for an angle, we have to use the sine inverse. But before I do that, sine x is equal to, what's 11 divided by 23? 11 divided by 23 is 0.4783. So now since we have x, we got to use the inverse sign to get that angle. So x is equal to the sine inverse of 0.4783. So I'm going to take the inverse side of that. That's the one with the little -1. That gives us our degree as 28.57. But we round the degrees to the nearest degree, so that would be rounded at 29. On this next one, we have the angle here, and we have the opposite and the adjacent to that angle. So we're going to have to use tangent again, just like we did on the first one. Tangent of 54 is going to equal x over 8. All right, so first we got to find the tangent of 54. So 54 tangent is 1.3764 is equal to x over 8. To find x, I got to multiply both sides by 8. So I'm going to multiply this number by 8. So times 8 equals 11.0 because we rounded to the nearest tenth. Okay, on this one, they give us two angles. You can use either angle to find the answer. So I'm going to use 58. Yeah, I could have used 32 with cosine, but I'm going to use 58 with sine because it's what I want to do. But you will get the same answer using 32 with cosine. So sine 58 degrees is equal to opposite, which is, this is opposite, this is a hypotenuse, 8 over x. So first I got to find sine of 58. That's 0.84 480 is equal to 8 over x. So now the thing here is we got to cross multiply and divide. So if you cross multiply and divide, you're going to end up bringing the x on this over here and then bring that number down there, because when you cross multiply, when x is on the bottom, you got to cross multiply and divide. Up here, x is on the top, so all you got to do is multiply. So x is going to equal 8 divided by 0.8480. So I'll do 8 divided by 0.8480 equals, so x is going to be equal 9.4, because we're supposed to use to the nearest tenth, 9.4. On this case here, we're looking for an angle, so eventually we're going to use some kind of inverse. But to this angle, this side is opposite, that side is adjacent. So when the only opportunity we have is using tangent, because we have opposite and adjacent. This is opposite, this is adjacent. So tangent of x has to equal opposite, which is 7, over adjacent, which is 6. So 7 divided by 6 equals 1 point. So tan x is equal to 1.1667. So since we're looking for the answer in degree, we have to use the inverse tangent. So x is equal to tan inverse, that's 1, negative 1, 1.1667. And so now I take the tan inverse over here, and that gives us x is equal to 49.4, because we're rounding to the tenths here. All right, number 18. Okay, now on this one we have the angle, so we're going to use some sort of inverse, but this is opposite and this is hypotenuse, so we have to use sine. Sine x has to equal opposite, which is 10 over 13. So 10 divided by 13 equals that. Sine x is equal to 0.7692. We got to use inverse sine to get the value of the angle. That's 7692. It's too squished up in there, but I'm going to say it out loud so you can hear it. 0.7692. And so then I take the inverse of that number, since it's already up there, inverse sine, and that gives us x is equal to 50. And it says rounded to the nearest degree, or did they say tenths? The angle is rounded to the nearest degree. So I actually would have got this previous problem wrong, because we're looking for the angle, and that's rounded to the 10th degree. That's incorrect. To round to the nearest degree, that should be not even be there, because it's rounded to the nearest degree. So this problem here is angle is 50 to round it to the nearest degree. Okay, so a couple is taking a balloon ride. After 25 minutes aloft, that means they're up in the air for 25 minutes. They measure angle of depression from the balloon to 16 degrees. They are 180 feet above the ground. Find the distance from the balloon to the launch place. So we have a balloon here. The people are in the hot air balloon. And the distance to the ground is 180. And they say the angle of depression that this angle is 16 degrees. Okay, so they want to find this distance D. So we know that this angle and that angle are equal to each other. So this is also 16. So that makes our triangle. So our triangle is 16 degrees, 180. So this is the side we're looking for. So we have to use tangent because this is opposite of 16. This is adjacent of 16, so we have to use tangent. Tan 16 degrees is equal to 180 over what we don't know. I'm gonna call it X. So what's tangent of 16? You gotta go here and say 16 tangent 0.2867 is equal to 180 over X. Remember, when X is in the denominator, you got to cross multiply and divide. So then X is going to equal 180 over 0.2867, which is equal to 180 divided by 0.2867 equals 627, or I'm gonna round it to the nearest whole because it doesn't give us a length, but since they gave us that in feet, I'm gonna round it to the nearest whole, so that'll be 28. Let me erase that to make it a little easier to see. 628. Rounding issues is something that you got to be able to do. Okay, a surveyor is 300 feet from the base of an apartment building. The angle of elevation to the top of the building is 24 degrees, and her angle measuring is 5 feet above the ground. Find the height of the building. Okay, so she has a measuring device. I'm going to draw it right here. And that device is looking up at a measure of 24 degrees. All right, so that device is 5 feet off the ground. Draw the building here. So this part from the ground to here is 5 feet. So we need to find this part here. And we know that the distance that they are from it is 300 feet. So this distance is 300. So the height of the building is going to be 5 feet plus whatever we find right here. So I'm going to call it X. So let me draw that triangle a little bit by itself, so all this other stuff we don't see. Okay, so then we got a triangle here. This is 24, this is X, and this is 300 feet. To find the top of that building, we're going to have to use tangent because that is the opposite of angle 24. So tangent of 24 is equal to X over 300. So now we got to find tangent of 24. Calculator says tangent of 24 is 0.4452 X over 300. So now this time X is at the top, so all we do is multiply straight across. So we'll get 300 times 0.4452. So I'll multiply this by 300. And that gives us 1.2 133.57. It doesn't tell us to round anything, so I would just round it to the whole number because it's a big height. They gave us the whole number at the beginning here, so I'm gonna give it to a whole number. But you know, on your test, you probably tell you to either round it to the tenths or round it to the hundredths. So whatever they tell you to round it to, that's what you round it to. But in this case, this is 133 equals X. Chances are they're not going to build a building to 133.57 height. So they would normally round it to something that's pretty even. All right, let's see what's on the next page. Your friend is flying a kite and she lets out string 105 feet and anchors it to the ground. She determines that the angle of elevation to the kite is 48 degrees. Find the height of the kite from the ground. Okay, so now she has the ground here. She anchors the kite. So the string is just up here. She got the kite here. Don't be hating on my artism. Okay, so this angle she determines is 48 degrees. And the length of the string is 105 feet. So how high is that thing off the ground? Well, this side over here is opposite of this angle. This angle, so it's looking away, so that's the opposite side. This is the hypotenuse, so the only function that we can use is sine. So sine of 48 degrees is equal to opposite, let's call that x, over hypotenuse, which is 105. So now let's find what sine 48, that's just a number. 48 sine gives us 0.7431 is equal to x over 105. Remember, since x is on the denominator and the numerator, all we do is multiply. So now I need to multiply 0.7431 times 105. So multiply this by 105 times 105 equals 78. It doesn't say round, so I'm gonna just leave it at 78. But in actuality, it's 78.03. But it's close enough. It depends on what they ask you to round it to. All right, this is the last problem. And this problem has two parts. The first part is it wants to, let's say the two office buildings are 100 feet apart. So this tells us it's 100 feet apart. They got that drawn right. The edge of the shorter building to the elevation of the taller building is 8. So this is angle of elevation. This is an angle of depression. All right, so they want to know how tall each building is. So if you look at this short building, that height, y, would be the same distance as this short building, because this short building, you look straight across, this height, it'd be the same height as the short building. The taller building would be the same height as this shorter building, plus the height up here, which is x. So you got to find two things. The first thing you got to find is the height of the shorter building. Then add that height to what we find from this angle of elevation to find the taller building. Okay, so I'm going to do the first one first, the shorter building first. So I guess all right. So then I have to use the tangent function because we have opposite over the distance, which is going to be adjacent to 42. So let me sketch out that triangle. This is 42. This is y. And that distance between the building is 100. So for 42, This is going to be opposite. This is going to be adjacent, because the hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. All right, so then I probably should have put that angle sign in there, but that's 42 degrees. So I'm going to end up using tangent. Tangent of 42 degrees is equal to opposite over adjacent. So tangent 42 degrees, just use the calculator. 42 tangent is 0.9004 is equal to y over 100. Now, remember the variables in the numerator, so all we do is multiply straight across. Y is equal to 100 times 0.900. Some of you sharp guys, we just say 900.4. But, you know, we can multiply it out and show it. Times 100. See there? I was wrong there, wasn't I? So it'll be 9.90.04. But the building said to round to the nearest foot. So we scratch that off. So the height of this building here is 90. The distance from here is 90. So now we got to do the same thing for the other side. I don't know what I was thinking on the other one. It's 100. Just multiple the decimal point over twice. Okay, the next one is to find the height above the smaller building. So then that triangle is looking up. And then that value is 28. This value is 100, because that's how far apart they are. And this is x. Again, we're going to use tangent because this angle, the opposite of this angle is this side over here, which is x. And the adjacent is this side down here. So this is opposite. And this is adjacent. So opposite over adjacent tells us we have to use tangent. So tangent of 28 has to equal to x over 100. So tangent of 28, go find out what that is. Oh, that's not right. So that's clear. 28 tangent is 0.5317 is equal to x over 100. So now on this case, x is in the numerator, so we multiply straight across. So we'll get decimal point over two places. You should get 53.17 is equal to x. So multiply that times 100. 53.17. But the question said to round to the nearest foot. So then that becomes out. And we just got 53. So x is equal to 53. So this whole building is equal, the height of this whole building here is going to be 53 plus 90. And that'll give you 143. So 53 plus 90 equals 143. So the height of the shorter building equals 90. Tall equals 90 plus 53, which is equal to 143. Okay, hopefully this helps you. But if you know how to do everything that I've done here, that'll take you pretty far on the test on Friday.